Thank you everyone for doubling down on your Google Next 19 experience, showing up on the very last day for the very first session. Considering that somewhat overachievement, we've teed up a session that both showcases GCP's commitment to partner-driven innovation, as well as showcasing some key solutions delivered by our data center and SD-WAN solution partners. Together, we've been hard at work solving some of the key challenges that are only just emerging with regards to the enterprise network. You've probably noticed that your network is changing, at least in 4 key ways. An increasingly distributed hybrid networking set of assets, as well as a need to go multi-cloud for a number of different reasons, to build preferred solutions, picking best-of-breed services to deliver them in a reliable manner. And Google promotes this. We're very open to that use case, and we know that it is a use case that is in proliferation, all of which needs to come together in a highly performant and reliable manner, with security being distributed all across the board. We have 4 solutions today that we'll be showcasing, starting with Andrew Leong from Citrix, showcasing their SD-WAN solution, followed by Bill Long at Equinix, and then by Matt Simpson at Megaport, and lastly, Manav Mishra from Silver Peak Systems, again with an SD-WAN solution. So let me transition over. We will have 5 minutes at the end to host a Q&A session, but without further ado, let me invite Andrew to come talk about the Citrix SD-WAN solution.
Thank you, Rohith. Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be here to share with you a little bit about Citrix, the company, our SD-WAN solution, as well as our partnership with Google, specifically Google Cloud. And so I'm Andy Leong. I run the SD-WAN marketing program for Citrix. And while some of you may know about Citrix as a company, some of you may not. And so let me just start off with a brief intro. We're a cloud computing company. We've been around for 30 years, and we're probably most known for having created the ICA, the Independent Computing Architecture Protocol, for virtualization for desktop servers and applications. And so we too have been on this journey towards the cloud, and along the way, we've actually partnered with over 400,000 enterprises across leading industry verticals, and you can see some of the samples here. We have partnerships with large organizations, institutions across manufacturing, healthcare, retail, financial, and banking, as well as some of the top cloud computing platforms. And so our portfolio, while we're known for applications and what's called the digital workspace, we also have a networking portfolio. And what is that comprised of? Well, you've heard perhaps over the course of this past week what some of these solutions and technologies entail. But effectively, they traverse the areas of SD-WAN, security, as well as application delivery, or ADC, as some of you may know that from a data center perspective. Now, we also have analytic solutions which also ingest the data across these applications, systems, as well as a network, and actually contextualizes that so that IT teams like yourselves can actually figure out how to best optimize your network, your cloud solutions, as well as the end user experience. Now, some of you may have heard about SD-WAN, and as a technology unto itself, there are various components, fundamental components, things like routing, WAN optimization, application control, security, as well as path management and control. Now, we have those capabilities, and I'm not going to stand here and market to this audience here, but we've decided to actually take a different approach to SD-WAN, both in terms of how we've developed the solution as well as how we continue to innovate on it. And it's really taking the end user and that experience into into account. And so we're focused from an SD-WAN perspective on delivering a superb, exceptional experience for these applications, whether they reside in SaaS environments, in virtual environments, or in various IaaS and PaaS environments. We obviously need to take into account security, and so we make security easy. So we offer solutions that actually protect the assets, applications, data, users across network and cloud. In addition, when it comes to the journey to cloud, we make it easier in that we offer flexible on-ramps for customers to extend their enterprise branches and environments over to the cloud. And along with that, we offer automation, because simplification without automation, well, really, those are just words. So how do we deliver this unique experience? So what we have that's built into our solution is what's called an application control engine. And so if you think about an IT team that is trying to get visibility into what's going across the network, what's being consumed from the cloud, they may have visibility into something like G Suite. They may have visibility into applications and protocols. Well, ultimately, for IT to really be effective, they're going to want to have granular visibility into, is the traffic real-time in nature? Is it something via chat, Google Hangouts? Is it a chat session? Is it a voice session? Is it a Google Drive sharing session? And be able to effectively detect, automatically classify, and therefore apply priorities to those sessions. And along with that, our application control engine has that capability to detect and optimize well over 4,500 applications, including many of the components of G Suite. And so this, along with our networking capabilities, allow our customers to actually deliver what we refer to as that always-on workspace experience. We also employ capabilities like deep packet inspection and WAN optimization to optimize bandwidth and the traffic going across the wide area network. So this week, we're pleased to announce a series of new capabilities on Google Cloud Platform. One of them is Citrix SD-WAN for GCP. And so this is currently in field trial. This will be generally available in just a few weeks here. And effectively, what we're doing is we're making our SD-WAN appliance, the virtual instance of it, available on the GCP marketplace. And so with this, customers will be able to effectively download, check out, if you will, and then spin up within a VPC a Citrix SD-WAN appliance. And so with that configuration, branches, data centers can be easily connected to GCP resources with high availability, with all the application performance and quality that I referenced earlier. We have capabilities like dual-ended QoS and last-mile awareness, so that if there are changing bandwidth conditions, our network can adapt to that, again, in the interest of delivering that better user experience. And then we've also got unique capabilities like sub-second failover of links. And so if customers in remote locations, in the case of retail, they're using a dedicated internet access connection via cable or DSL, they can use 4G LTE as a backup. And because this failover occurs in less than seconds, really for the most part, there's no disruption to the user experience. So this is really just an element of our broader multi-cloud solution where we give customers optionality. We effectively give them choice if they want to go and connect to GCP. We recognize that it's a heterogeneous environment, so if they want to go to alternate cloud platforms, they have that capability. They can also, when it comes to SaaS, we offer capabilities that utilize a private backbone to enable the same level of resiliency in connecting to, let's say, a Workday or a Salesforce.com cloud as well. And we've also got partnerships with the likes of Equinix, where if customers want a neutral cloud exchange in order to multi-cloud into whether GCP or any of the other cloud platforms, they have that capability as well. And lastly, with respect to alternate backbones, and I recognize this gets a little bit geeky here, but as a overlay to an underlay, And what does that mean? Basically, it means an alternate cloud backbone. So we have partnerships with companies like Teridion in the event that customers really want to take it to that level of sophistication as far as fine-tuning their networks. And so with respect to security, we recognize that the attack vectors are expanding. And so we have built-in security controls within our appliances. We have essentially stateful application firewalls. We have options via partnerships to actually bring on board next generation firewalls, as well as if customers want to deploy SD-WAN firewall capabilities within cloud environments such as GCP. They can do that as well. And then lastly, because a lot of traffic is becoming increasingly consumed via SaaS and via the public internet, we have partnerships with the likes of Zscaler, Palo Alto, and others that actually provide cloud-based secure web gateway capabilities. And so lastly, with regards to the simplification and the automation, we have a cloud-based management solution that actually spins up resources, not only in branches and data centers, but also can connect to cloud solutions, like some of those we looked at. We have the ability to automatically, via a few mouse clicks, bring up connections to security solutions, as well as with productivity suites. And so what we're doing is, over time, providing more choice for customers to actually connect to more and more productivity suites, to more cloud solutions. And so at the end of the day, it's about, as customers go on this journey to cloud, offering them this choice, but for the most part, the application experience that is going to keep their business up and running. So that's what I have to share with you this morning. We've got a booth in the South Hall here. I believe we are on the left of the main entrance and close to the snack bar. So if anyone has any questions or wants to get a little bit more into detail on our SD-WAN or networking solutions, feel free to drop by. Excuse me. And also, we've got some revolving theater sessions as well. And so we will be covering SD-WAN as well as other elements of our networking solution. And lastly, Rohith and team have actually put out a blog this week on Google Cloud networking. And so I encourage you all to check that out. That's it. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Bill Leong with Equinix. I'm in charge of the interconnection products at Equinix. If I had known this was the setup, I would have had some Equinix branded, popcorn that you guys could have, or some junior mints you could throw at me if you didn't like what I was going to say. But unfortunately, I didn't know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give, given where Equinix sits in the ecosystem, I'm going to really highlight sort of what we're seeing in the market and how people are enabling cloud connectivity. So no good presentation these days starts without a nod to digital disruption. And like all sort of cliches, there's always an ounce of truth in it. So we are seeing people are really getting their infrastructure ready for digital disruption across all different verticals. Obviously, manufacturing, moving to the industrial internet, transportation with rideshare, across the board, it's happening across all verticals. And what they're doing is they're trying to distribute their architecture to be ready such that their infrastructure is ready for the digital transformation. So I mentioned that Equinix sits in an interesting spot for us to be able to observe what enterprises are really doing. So we have 200 data centers around the world, 52 different markets, and the data centers are a little bit different than it's not just a big warehouse full of servers. Our sweet spot is providing solutions and ecosystems where people can actually connect to each other. So if you look at the cloud edge nodes that are deployed globally out there, about 50% of those are in Equinix data centers. So the rest of the industry splits the other 50%. So what that gives us visibility into is who's connecting to who, what are they doing with it, how are they using it, what are the use cases they're doing. And so what we've done is we've analyzed just over about 800 different enterprises to look at what are the trends that we're seeing for how people are transforming their infrastructure to be ready for digital transformation. And so what we've noticed is there are 4 very distinct steps that folks are going through, and typically they're in this exact order. So if you're an enterprise customer and you're wondering, well, how do I enable this transformation of making my infrastructure ready for digital transformation? This is sort of the roadmap that we're seeing. or if you're a vendor who's coming up with solutions, these are the types of, these are the steps that we're seeing enterprises take in order to be ready for that transformation. So step one is typically they'll want to optimize their network. So typically, applications will be hosted in their basement, and then all of their users will be using a wide area network to get to those applications. The first step is to distribute those applications out, optimize your WAN, is step number one. So take those applications, instead of get those applications closer to the end users to reduce latency, to actually drive down costs. So that's step one. Typically, once enterprises have moved have optimized their WAN to distribute out their applications, they then use those nodes to connect out to enable a multi-hybrid cloud architecture. And so we'll double click on that one a little bit here in a minute. And then once they have sort of the distributed architecture connected out to the clouds, they fortify that with a pretty robust security perimeter. Once that security perimeter is there, we typically see them move a lot more of their data closer to those applications. So that's the rough progression of what we see when we look at these 800 customers, of how they're on this journey. Double clicking down into the hybrid multi-cloud. So what do folks care about when they're taking that second step for hybrid multi-cloud? Number one, they care what clouds are available. So what we see typically is that if a customer is connected to one cloud, they're most likely going to connect to at least 2 other clouds. So having that, cloud availability is absolutely critical. We have, I mentioned sort of the edge nodes that Equinix has available. GCI is available in Equinix locations in 22 different metros. So that's important. The second big step is performance. So you want to make sure that when you're deploying your infrastructure, it's in a place that's going to have the best performance for connecting into the clouds that you care about, as well as provides the option to scale both from a performance standpoint and a cost standpoint. So a pattern that we see from a lot of customers is they will start on Cloud Exchange. So Cloud Exchange is a platform that you can set up virtual connections to multiple clouds. But once that starts to scale to 10 gig or multi-10 gig connections, having the option to pull that off to a cross connect is a really important capability to have, both for performance as well as for a cost standpoint. So pulling that over to a cross connect and have that option available is really important to customers. And there we have 9 of the 11 regions of the GCI regions are available in Equinix today. I think the next closest competitor has like 2 locations available. And then the third option, of course, is ease of use and flexibility. And that means both technical ease of use as well as and flexibility, as well as commercial flexibility. So being able to set up connections, obviously when you're using multi-cloud, being able to connect into and out of, move workloads around dynamically. You can set up connections, tear those connections down in a very flexible way is super important. So a little bit of a double click on that. Through Cloud Exchange, you can set up connections, tear them down to any location anywhere in the world. So if you're in Sydney and you have a workload that needs to access Google Cloud in Ashburn or somewhere, you can use Cloud Exchange to set that up, or for redundancy. But again, you can set that up, tear those down in a very sort of flexible architecture. 2 quick use cases that we're seeing. The first, and probably by far the predominant use case that we're seeing, is connecting on-premise or within the enterprise applications out to cloud assets. So being able to have the infrastructure that you have in the cloud appear on your corporate network, such that you can have applications in your own private enterprise WAN, be able to access those assets and have them appear on their same private network. That's the sort of prime use case number 1. Use case number 2 is we're actually in limited availability with this capability now. We're going to be rolling it out where you can spin up to be able to do multi-cloud use cases. So whether you have a data set that you want to move out of AWS into GCI, or if it's an application where you want to have compute in one cloud and you want to have analytics in another cloud, being able to set up a virtual router and move data into and out of multiple clouds is also a second use case. And you can go to our booth and we can show you a demo of exactly what that's going to look like as well. So with that, this is information about how to come and find us, and I'll be around after the session for a couple minutes as well. So thank you, guys.
Okay, good morning. All right. I promise it's going to be close to a blockbuster hit today, but again, I think we need the popcorn. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Megaport. Our vision is to simplify connectivity. When you're looking at, I guess Rohith was mentioning before, multi-cloud and also Bill, it can be very complex. And I guess our vision is that we want to ensure that you are focused on getting the best performance out of your applications. And so our vision is to simplify that connectivity and abstract some of the complexity out of getting connected to cloud. But it's not only getting connected to cloud, and I think Bill touched on this as well. It's a rich, deep ecosystem out there to get, of course, a full end-to-end solution. And Megaport, of course, is about connecting not only the data centers, but the network providers, managed service providers, and a full ecosystem out there. We have 1,350 customers that connect today across 425 data centers. Which of those are 82 of those are unique data center operators. So we do have Equinix and CyrusOne and Cyxtera in Interaction and Flexential and Digital Realty, of course. So what's unique about, I guess, our offering is that we believe that it should be fast. It should be with ease, and you should have choice. Because at the end of the day, you need to be focused on those applications. So we touched on where over the last 5 years, Megaport's been building out a layer 2 software-defined network, an open and neutral interconnection platform. And over the last 5 years, we've been building out to those data centers a redundant network across all of those facilities. And generally, that's where those service providers live, or those interconnection points. And so over the past 5 years, our customers have been connecting at layer 2. But what we have been seeing is customers are wanting that cloud-to-cloud connectivity. And whilst they might have infrastructure or that hybrid scenario with layer 2, they're also looking at connecting cloud-to-cloud without going and procuring network hardware and space and power. So across the 425, you can establish a service or a port with our particular service anywhere across the globe. It takes a couple of minutes to provision, and you can also scale that bandwidth in real time. So I'm going to touch a little bit about Megaport Cloud Router. It's a solution that our customers were coming to us about, and it was, I have my data center, I've got my on-prem, and I'm connecting to cloud, but now I want to look at connecting the two cloud endpoints. So in this scenario, it's a private layer 3 service, and you can establish this at a 1 gig, 2.5 gig, or even 10 gig, if you like. And this is a managed layer 3 connectivity service. So what we have done with this virtual router is abstracted some of that configuration. And it also allows you to, if you don't have your own AS or your own IP, then this device will actually manage that for you and automatically assign. So in a typical scenario, a customer may come to us and say, okay, I want to have a little bit of mixture of on-prem and then cloud with a hybrid scenario, and then they'll also look at cloud to cloud. So I'm using this diagram as a bit of an overview of a virtual router. I've stood it up in a particular zone, and then I've got that variety of multiple cloud services there. So in this case, we do provide the service across both GCP, across 23 of the interconnect points across the globe. And we also provide direct peering, which is the layer 3 service, which gives you access to Google's public resources as well. And so I wanted to share with you, it's not working that well on this particular screen, but A typical customer scenario might have media and entertainment is a great one for animation and rendering. They're looking for burstable traffic. It's seasonal, and they may have their infrastructure in LA, and they'll establish a layer 2 port with us, and they'll connect to multiple different services within the west coast of the US. But what if they had their application in the East Coast, and they wanted to stand that up pretty quickly, and their storage and compute might be in AWS, but they're looking to get access to some of the analytics on GCP. With this Megaport Cloud Router, you can spin up the virtual device within a couple of minutes and have virtual cross connections between GCP and AWS. So a private layer 3 connection. It doesn't touch the public internet. And then if you want to, you can actually connect those two services back to West Coast if you want to for a one-off migration. In that particular scenario, and then you can turn that device off after you've used it, whether it be a month, a day, or a year, or even an hour. The choice is yours. We talked a little bit about the application and seasonal and bursting of traffic. And what we've done with Megaport is we've aligned our business model similar to cloud. So you can actually spin up your connection, private connection, from 1 megabit right up to 100 gigabits if you like. And you can actually do that on demand. And in this scenario, with particularly seasonal traffic, you can manipulate those speeds whenever you need to, whether it be on a weekend, whether it be an evening, and we'll only bill you for what you actually consume. We've got a couple of customers, particularly media and entertainment, they're actually chasing some of that cheap storage and compute, particularly whatever provider that might be. We've had scenarios where a customer might go from Toronto right down to Ashburn. And with a virtual cross connection, they could do that for a month. And what's really important is Thomas talked about an open ecosystem this week. And with Megaport, we've got that neutral platform that you can connect to multiple services across 425 data centers, across 120 cloud on-ramps, across multiple cloud providers. And it's really important that with Google, there's 58 points of presence. They've got one of the largest networks. But with Megaport, you're actually connecting from 425 points of those locations. So we're extending the reach of GCP and bringing it to the doorstep to you as the enterprise user. And that's really important from a performance and getting the best out of your application. I think that's pretty much it. So we actually do, of course, like everyone here, we've got a booth. I'll be here for the rest of the sort of morning and look forward to discussing it with you. Thanks very much.
Let me get this thing straight. Hi, this is Manav. I work for Silver Peak. I run product management for Silver Peak. For those of you who don't know Silver Peak is a company that has been around for about a decade or so. We focused earlier on WAN optimization, and a few years ago, we were one of the early vendors, early products in the space that's now known as software-defined wide area networks. So why are we different from other products and services in the space? Part of the reason is we have always taken a business intent-driven and apps-driven approach to networking. So essentially what we realized was enterprises, small businesses, medium businesses, customers cared more about taking their business intent and business policies and transforming them into network configurations, network policies, firewall rules, routing policies and whatnot. And what we provide is an abstraction to all of that, a simple abstraction that can take a human readable, a human prescribable policy for the treatment an enterprise admin wants the application or the service to have, and get that translated all the way down to the router, to the data plane in terms of actionable policies. What we achieve by doing that is the quality of experience. So as we know, as the world is progressively moving towards SaaS and SaaS applications, the quality of performance of those applications is largely dictated by the ability of the networking infrastructure to know when to intelligently break out the traffic, to which public cloud presence to send the traffic to, and to afford the right performance for audio and video over internet. Our solution is also built on the notion of continuous adaptation. And what I mean by that is it's a self-learning and a self-driving network. So we, looking at the data that flows in through the customer's network, we automate a bunch of different things on behalf of the customer. We develop the learning of packet identification, application identification. And we have this technology called First Packet IQ technology, which can, looking at the very first packet of a new application type, it can detect what the application is and then decide based on the identification what corresponding policy to apply to it, whether that application or that packet needs to be backhauled all the way back to HQ or to the data center, or it needs to break out locally. And we're continuously learning it at every node, at every router in the network, and we use that to make the network more intelligent and more adaptive. Finally, what we also realized working with our customers is that no two customers are alike. There are some customers who want to overhaul their entire existing infrastructure. They want to take what they have put in place over the last 10 years and move to this new world of software-defined wide area networks. And then there are customers who actually want an SD-WAN solution that will play nicely, that will fit in with the existing network. So we call it greenfield or brownfield deployments. And for brownfield deployments, we need to have a solution that supports a lot of the existing protocol infrastructure that customers have in play. So things like BGP, OSPF, things like multicast, virtual routing and forwarding capabilities. So we have a unified solution that brings in the best of software-defined wide area networks and mixes it with existing infrastructure so that customers, any type of customer can use our product and be successful. Our success has been recognized by Gartner. So Gartner has started publishing what they call the Magic Quadrant for the WAN Edge. Gartner has a name for every technology that we call by a particular name. Gartner has its own name for it. So software-defined wide area networks, is called a WAN Edge by Gartner. We are one of the 3 leaders in the Magic Quadrant. I want to talk a little bit about our platform and then talk about how we enable success for Google Cloud customers. So our platform essentially is an all-unified cloud-first stack, which has application visibility and control. This is the packet detection, identification, intelligent breakout that I talked about. It has routing capabilities, so essentially how interplaying nicely with OSPF, BGP, multicast, VRF, name it. It has WAN optimization. So our company's roots were in WAN optimization. So WAN optimization is a built-in integrated feature. So for customers who want WAN op, and there are still a lot of customers who have their own private cloud offerings who need WAN optimization. It's easy to enable using our product. And network security. So we have built-in firewalls and built-in segmentation that customers can use so that they don't need to have yet another appliance to afford these capabilities for their network. And all of these are built into what we call the Edge Connect appliance, the Unity Edge Connect appliance. Now this appliance is available, the software is available in a virtualized form. So if you want to run it on-prem on a hypervisor, you could do so. It's available in the cloud. We are the only product out there which is available on all major public clouds. So you can actually go to Google Marketplace, Azure Marketplace, AWS Marketplace, Oracle Marketplace, and you can easily get it and deploy it in a VPC of your choice. And it also comes with Silver Peak hardware. So for your branch offices where you want a local point of presence for the software in a branch office, you can actually get hardware and software combo from Silver Peak. So this is essentially our data plane. This is where the magic actually happens. But how does the data plane know what to do, and how does the data plane know what policies are being configured by the user? And that happens through what we call the orchestration plane. So we have a centralized business-driven orchestration solution. I think it's available in 3 different forms. It's available in a SaaS form. We call it Orchestrator as a Service. So we run it in a public cloud presence, and as a customer, think of it just like a SaaS product. You can log into the portal, you get access to your orchestration for your network, and you can manage and configure your network from there. It's also available on-prem, so you can actually, if you have your own on-prem infrastructure, all you need to do is have a hypervisor layer and deploy this OVA or the hypervisor format of your choice onto your existing infrastructure. Or you can run it, just like with the virtual appliance, you can run it in a VPC in any of the major public clouds. So you can run it on Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle. So this is sort of the net of what our overall product looks like. We also have an integrated service chaining platform built into the product, so by which if you want to intelligently break out traffic to a security service provider like Zscaler or a Palo Alto or a Checkpoint, I'm going to cover that in a subsequent slide, the list of our partners, you could do so. And the orchestration to Zscaler is automated. So essentially, all you need to do is in the UI, you just need to define the policy for traffic. You could say, hey, all the traffic that's going to my corporate websites, send it back to the data center, and anything that's going out to the internet, send it to Zscaler. And then behind the scenes, we work with Zscaler. We find out the local points of presence for Zscaler that are closest to that branch office, and we automate the tunnel creation between all sites and the corresponding Zscaler points of presence worldwide for the customer with just one click. We also have flow-through operations. So essentially, everything that we do in the product is available via REST APIs. So it's a cloud-first approach to building the product. So like if you want to have access to the detailed statistics and analytics and logs that we have, we make it available to our customers. And we have customers using that and syncing it into their own data analytics systems and data warehousing systems. We have a Splunk connector for a bunch of our enterprise customers who use it, import the data from our systems into Splunk, and then they do their own detailed analysis and insight gathering from that. The Unity Edge Connect appliance, I'm just going to quickly cover this. As I said, it's available in a physical, virtual, and cloud-based form. It runs Unity Boost, which is our WAN optimization feature. It has the fast packet detection. The one thing I wanted to touch over here is we have zero-touch branch deployments. So we have zero-touch provisioning and zero-touch configuration. So essentially, you could, if you're an IT admin and you want to send a replacement box to into a branch office in your organization, but you want to pre-configure all the policies for it, you could actually just use our scripts, use our REST APIs, pre-configure the box, and when the branch office gets the box, all they have to do is open it up and plug in the cables, and it's good to go. Or you can use zero-touch provisioning, which is we ship a new box to the branch office. The branch office connects the box to cables, goes into the orchestrator. Orchestrator shows that a new device or new appliance has been detected, and then you let the orchestrator orchestrate it on your behalf. So essentially, think of it as the modern Pixel or iPhone experience, where you just have to log in with your username and ID, and the policies and data that you have for that particular device automatically are provisioned through the cloud. So these are a list of our partners. As I said, we work with a variety of them. Palo Alto, Zscaler, Checkpoint, ForcePoint, Symantec. The list is endless. Coming on to how we enable success for Google and Google Cloud customers. As I mentioned, our virtual appliance is available on Google Cloud today. You could go, give it a try. We have customers. We have quite a few customers who have deployed and are using Silver Peak on Google Cloud today. And they are using Silver Peak on Google Cloud in 2 different deployment models. So we have customers who are new in their journey to Google Cloud, or who basically want to enable cloud on-ramp for a particular organization within their enterprise. So they basically they create a single VPC on Google Cloud and then deploy our Edge Connect appliance onto that. And then we also have more complicated and complex deployments where customers have a large presence on Google Cloud, and they have a bunch of different apps, services, data sets residing on Google Cloud, and they want access to all of these to the rest of the enterprise. And what they do is they deploy Silver Peak on Google Cloud, use a load balancer, and use that to serve all the different VPCs that they have in the infrastructure. So the 2 use cases that we're seeing a lot of traction on in the market today, the first one is essentially the cloud on-ramp, which is the customers who want to extend their enterprise into the cloud. And they essentially want a protected, I call it the protected first mile or last mile, depending on how you look at it, connectivity from the branch into the cloud. And then the second trend that we have started seeing, and we actually are working very closely with a couple of, at least 3 or 4 customers right now on, is the multi-cloud journey, where they have different points of presence on different clouds, and these clouds could be public or private. So we have one customer who has data on AWS, and they run their service on Google Cloud, and they want a high-speed, multi-cloud connection fabric between these 2 clouds, and they essentially all they do is they extend their enterprise infrastructure into Amazon by deploying an ECV there. They extend the infrastructure into Google by deploying an ECV there, and then the Silver Peak SD-WAN fabric thinks of these as new branches in the cloud and does the needful to make sure the connectivity is guaranteed.